Brothers Grimsby is a new Sacha Baron Cohen comedy starring Sacha Baron Cohen, Mark Strong, Isla Fisher, Penelope Cruz, Ian McShane, Rebel Wilson, a pretty good cast, and this movie's about two brothers who are at an orphanage but they're separated because one of them is adopted and the other is not. And one of them, Sebastian, played by Mark Strong, grows up to be a really successful secret agent. He's super awesome at his job. And the other one grows up to be Nabi, played by Sacha Baron Cohen, who is pretty much a soccer hooligan with like 10 million children, and he's married to Rebel Wilson. And one day Nabi finally realizes where Sebastian is and he wants to go reunite with him. The only problem is Sebastian is currently on a secret mission and Nabi kinda screws that up, and now because of him, Sebastian is on the run because people think that he has gone rogue, and now he needs to clear his name and stop the villain and reunite with his brother and be friends again. Now, I'm a fan of Sacha Baron Cohen, not just because he voices King Julian in Madagascar, but I also saw his movie Borat, amazing movie, and The Dictator I don't think it's all that bad. So I was actually a little bit excited to see the Brothers Grimsby because of Sacha Baron Cohen, and I gotta say, I was a little disappointed, but let's go over the pros first. First off, Sacha Baron Cohen, he's proven that he can do roles like this, like Ali G, Borat, and Bruno. He's really good at doing character stuff, and as Nabi, he is really good. And Mark Strong actually kind of surprised me. I didn't think he'd be able to pull off a comedy role like this. I mean, it's not as outrageous as Sacha Baron Cohen's role, but still, I didn't know if he would be able to pull off all this stuff that's happening around him. He was actually really good in this movie. And the chemistry between Sacha Baron Cohen and Mark Strong was actually really good. They convinced me that they are actually brothers, so I give them props for that because it's not easy convincing me that Sacha Baron Cohen is the older brother of a badass like Mark Strong. That's a hard thing to do, but they did it, so props. And the comedy in this movie, holy crap. There are several segments dedicated to some of the raunchiest, yet most unreal, goofy, yet hilarious scenes I've ever seen in an R-rated comedy. I'm not kidding, guys. I was honestly gut-busting during some of these segments. One of them involving an elephant. I'll just leave it at that. So this movie actually had some really funny jokes going on, and Sacha Baron Cohen and Mark Strong had some really good comedic chemistry. Unfortunately, this does lead to one of my biggest problems with this movie, and that is the plot. It felt like Sacha Baron Cohen and a couple other writers went in a room and were like, alright, let's think of some of the raunchiest stuff that we could put into a movie, and they did that, and they're like, okay, now let's think of a movie that these things can be in. Instead of the jokes actually fitting in naturally with this plot, it felt more like the plot was just being written around these comedic segments. And honestly, that just led to a really horrible pace and some waste of characterization. And the pace, I mean, it is terrible. It is too fast-paced. A movie that did fast-paced really well recently, Finding Dory. It had really entertaining scenes, never a dull moment, really entertaining characters, and a lot of stuff was going on that had me interested. Yet, at the beginning, you could kind of understand where our characters were at, so you could get attached to the movie rather quickly. In The Brothers Grimsby, you get a sense of where our characters are at, but they never really delve into it anymore. I was honestly quite surprised that the reunition between Sacha Baron Cohen and Mark Strong happened like 10 minutes into the movie. That caught me way off guard. I did not expect it to happen that quickly. And don't get me wrong, short comedies, I'm not hating on them. I like when comedies keep it short and simple. I don't like it when comedies kind of go over long, like to the 2-hour margin. That's kind of unnecessary. But if you're gonna make it short, make sure the pace actually fits in with that flow. And with the Brothers Grimsby, it didn't really do that. And the characters, they completely wasted their cast in this movie. Isla Fisher is supposed to have some flirtatious relationship with Mark Strong's character. That really doesn't go anywhere, and she just turns into the side character that cheers them on from the sidelines. Rebel Wilson, I was honestly a little worried about her going into this movie because I'm not a big fan of hers. Walking out of this movie, she was like in only 3 short scenes of this movie. She didn't really tell that many jokes. So, I wasn't annoyed, it's just, I was kind of surprised. Ian McShane, what are you doing here, buddy? He has nothing to do. He can be funny. Did you see Hot Rod with Andy Samberg? He was his stepdad in that movie. He was actually really funny in that movie. Yet here, he's pretty much just the head of this organization, and he's completely straight-faced the entire time. He, like, reacts to one funny thing, but his reaction wasn't funny. The thing that was funny was actually funny. He had nothing to do in this movie. But by far, the worst character, and one of the worst villains of the whole year, Penelope Cruz. Girl, what are you doing? Zoolander 2, and now this. What's going on with you? Seriously, her character, her villainous character, Her plot is pretty much kill everyone because she's annoyed at society. The only problem is, I counted, she's in like only 3 scenes. Like, maybe just, yeah, 3 scenes. 3 scenes in the entire film. I was so baffled at how much of a cast they had with this movie, this ridiculous R-rated comedy, and then they just completely wasted it. What the heck? And I know Lex Luthor is not only one of the worst villains of the year, but also one of the worst comic book villains ever. Penelope Cruz is not only the worst villain of the year, but she's one of the worst villains of all time. She has no personality. She has nothing to do in this film. She does nothing. Another disappointment, the action sequences. This is from the director Louis Leterrier. Now, from his IMDb, let's read it off. The Transporter, Unleashed, Transporter 2, Incredible Hulk, Clash of the Titans, and Now You See Me. Clash of the Titans is terrible. Now You See Me, it's alright. The Incredible Hulk is good, and the first 2 Transporters, I think, are pretty good. Haven't seen Unleashed, but this guy, he can do some entertaining action. The Incredible Hulk has some really entertaining action. However, in this movie, the action sequences were less than stellar. And one scene in particular, it's a first-person point of view. You might have seen it in the trailer involving Mark Strong's character. He's on a mission, and when it first started off, I was like, alright, cool. It's like Hardcore Henry. Alright, let's go. But that scene had so much shakiness going on, and a lot of cuts and edits that I just couldn't really get involved with the action sequence. So the Brothers Grimsby was a really big disappointment for me. If you're a Sacha Baron Cohen fan, however, you might find some enjoyment with this movie. If you really don't care about a good plot or good characters and you're just looking for big laughs, you'll probably get some. However, if you're like me and you want more clever comedies like Shane Black's Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Nice Guys, or Edgar Wright's entire Cornetto trilogy, then this is not the movie for you. I'm gonna give the Brothers Grimsby a C. Sacha Baron Cohen and Mark Strong were really good together. However, it wasn't enough for me to completely ignore the terribleness of the plot and just the complete waste of their cast. However, if you saw the Brothers Grimsby, leave in the comments below of what you thought of it. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.